SLR Season 8 is over. SLR Season 8 is over.
Welcome ladies and gentlemen to the 2SRL Tier 1 Chinese Grand Prix. It's a 3.38 mile long circuit with 16 corners in total. You've got 2 DRS zones and a very, very long back straight assisted by that DRS. Top speeds of around 200 miles per hour and a track with plenty of overtaking opportunities. It holds the record for the most overtakes in a dry race. We can see Dano managing to overtake 2 Ferraris in 2016. Vettel and Raikkonen escaping that with a bunch of damage. Turn 6, 2017, Sebastian Vettel up against Daniel Ricciardo. 2 former teammates getting way too close before Vettel slipped through on the inside. Down at 14 then, looking in his mirrors in 2018, Max Verstappen came steaming in and hit the back of the Ferrari, ending up in a post-race penalty as well. Plenty of action to come here today, so do not go anywhere. We have the soft, the medium, and the hard once again. It's 1.1 second or so per lap slower on the mediums and about 1.8 seconds slower per lap on the hards. Joining me today in the commentary box will actually be someone a little bit different. We actually have Shaky with me today, coming in as a stand-in for Joner. Unfortunately, Joner will not be attending with us for the foreseeable future due to real life work and stuff like that. So Shaky is here today as a stand-in. How are you today?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm really looking forward to this race. I mean, it's round 3. We skipped Vietnam to come straight to China, and this is the tier 1. We've got 17 drivers on the grid, almost a packed out grid here today, and there's going to be a lot going on. Obviously, Shaky not having as much information when it comes to these drivers and what they're all about, but in the past couple races. There has been, you know, it's been going back and forth between some drivers, and I actually have all the standings pulled up on my my other screen at the moment. And currently in our constructors, bearing in mind we're only on round 3, so this can all shuffle completely today. It could stay the way it is, and all throughout the season it will continue to shuffle. But currently at the top of the board, we actually have Ferrari, who are sitting at the top of the constructors, followed by Red Bull and Alfa Romeo. Then in third, Williams, followed by AlphaTauri, Racing Point, McLaren. Just squeezing in ahead of Mercedes, and then Haas and Renault have unfortunately not scored any points just yet for their team. Over at the driver's standings, this is the race I want Copy to I want Copy to win, to be honest. In the past 2 races at Australia and at Bahrain, the guy's had an amazing drive and has managed to place second in both of those races. And you know, it's from just seeing how he's put that Williams through these paces, having a Williams that far up there, I think he really deserves to pick himself up a win there. Justin's currently in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, picking up a 3rd in Australia, and then he won last week's race in Bahrain. It was a great race indeed. But yeah, the Ferrari team are still doing very well as well, holding in P4 and 5 in the drivers. But as we said, that can all change. They can all change today. It can all change in the upcoming weeks. A driver who really has to come out today and put some work in as well. One, you do know him as well, Shaky. Pixel has he actually did not start the Bahrain race, so yeah, he missed an opportunity for some good points. But you know, he's got to come back today and he's got to show us, you know, if he's got what it takes to continue scoring those points. Yeah, he hasn't dropped too far down the drivers so far though. So hopefully that's caught you up a little bit to speed. Hopefully I've not fed you way too much that your head's about to explode. But yeah, there's a lot going on, and you know, these are some of the best drivers the 2SRL do have to offer. None of these drivers are using assists, as I mention every time we're here. No traction control, no ABS, none of that. That is for, in their minds, that is for losers. But they're all winners here. Well, the guy who comes in first is.
I mean, you said it yourself, but let's just see what's gonna happen. It's gonna be an exciting race. I'm quite sure of it. All of these drivers are amazingly talented, and we're gonna see what they can do for us today.
Definitely. So coming through, we're about just over 13 minutes left in this qualifying session at this moment. Obviously, 2 drivers, have set a lap so far. It's actually Terra in the Renault and Justin coming through. So the fastest so far is a 29.6. I know that can be beat. I'm actually expecting to see as Timo comes through with a 29.4 to set that. This will keep changing as the drivers go continuously on their first fast laps. But I'm expecting personally to see this drop into the 129.2s, if not even further. I would love to see it go further. I know these drivers are definitely capable of it. We've also just been fed the information that this entire race session, from qualifying all the way through to the race, will be bone dry. So I'm sure all those drivers are very happy to see that come up on the MFD once they get into the pits and get ready to go out for their qualifying session. Be very happy indeed to find out that, hey, I don't have to worry about anything, any wet weather, anything like that here at Shanghai. It's gonna be an interesting race. Turn one is where there's going to be a lot of action happening. I mean, we have a lot of tracks where as soon as you start off, the lights go out and you're gunning down that straight. A lot of it is very tight and it's hard to go too wide. The way this first corner, which leads into the second, it's a little bit tricky, but the way this actually works itself, you could see a lot of these people coming into this 3 wide. Ending it, of course, maybe 2 wide, maybe one person getting ahead, but they can really go through this. There is enough space on this track for, as we said, a lot of overtakes. It does hold the record for the most overtakes done on a track on a dry race. In the, obviously, the official Formula 1. But, you know, the track is wide enough for these drivers to do that. We've that big long back straight, and obviously once the DRS is enabled, that's going to be crucial. A lot of drivers, that's going to be their main, I would say that's their main overtaking point, is get close to someone up there and just down that back straight, send it past them, and then just sort of carry on your day from there. So there's a lot to do throughout the track. You know, it's it is tricky, but at the same time, it's also not that tricky either. I was looking in the Tier 1 chat of the Discord there, and it looked like for some reason, and I'm not too sure why, but not a lot of people are fond of China. And I don't know, I think, Shaky, we spoke about it for a moment there before we started here today, and I don't understand why. I personally enjoy this track. I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why people dislike the track either. For me personally, it has a bit of a Mario Kart vibe to it. Maybe that's what people dislike about it, but I personally am a big fan of it. It's an enjoyable track to drive on, in my opinion.
Also, just yeah, definitely. I personally enjoy driving it. I may not be fast. I'm just gonna put that disclaimer right there. I may not be fast, but I do enjoy the track. And also, gotta give a very special birthday mention to Dragon. He's in the chat right now. Happy birthday. Hope you have a great day today. As we actually see the Haas of Jesse going through a little bit of a slide here in Sector 3 or Sector 2, sorry, losing the rear end of his Haas. Not gonna be happy about that. That's most likely going to be a abandoned lap. Come into the pits, fuel up, and go again, most likely. So happy birthday once again. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy the racing today. I believe Dragon is also, if I'm correct in saying this is the SLR Dragon that we have actually in the session right now. The guy we know who always talks a little bit too much in the stream chat rather than sticking his head down when he should be racing. I think this is the same guy. But yeah, happy birthday to you, and you know, enjoy it. Yeah, you better score some good points today. I'm sure everyone's counting on you.
No, I was just about to say that not a lot of people have put down their time yet. It's less than 10 minutes to go. Almost halfway through qualifying, and only 7 people have set their first times.
Thing with that as well, we do have a lot of drivers that are on their outlaps, and we also have some drivers like Ryan at the moment, and Jesse as well, who are on their fast lap. We're gonna hop on board with Ryan just about now, as he set a purple Sector 1 at the moment, coming into Sector 2. So this could be looking at a very good lap for the Mercedes team, hugging as tight as possible as you can there. He might come into a little bit of trouble with the Ferrari in front of him. I believe that is Timo. Timo does move out of the way though for the Mercedes. Good sportsmanship there. Thanks once again, Timo. And Ryan is on his way. Can he continue to set these purple sectors? It looks like he can do. That's a purple Sector 2 at the moment. We could be looking at pole. A little bit wobbly there. He's got Pixel now in front of him in the McLaren. He could get a little bit of a toe down this back straight though from him, which could work out really well. Pixel would want to move out of the way here to the side. There he goes. Moving to the inside like a true gentleman. Now Ryan gets the DRS open, and that might have actually helped him out a little bit. I think going down there, just getting that little bit of slipstream from him, and then Pixel and the McLaren just moving out of the way and letting him continue on with his day. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes across the line here to set the fastest lap. Thankfully doesn't invalidate at this moment, goes across the line, and it's only actually good enough for P6. It's a 130.1. Was looking strong in that last sector, though had some trouble. So I was expecting a little bit more, but unfortunately that's only going to be enough for P6 for him at this moment. We actually see though, Pixel is currently getting ready to set, he's setting a lap now really on medium tires. I mean, the strategy for this track really you want to see is, you know, it's a one-stop most people would want to go for, I would assume with that, and how I think would be from softs onto possibly the hards, wherever the soft, this track can really kill your tires. We know that. So I think the soft medium is going to be risky. I think it's mainly going to be a soft hard run here today at Shanghai. But yeah, 9 drivers so far have set their times. Under 10 minutes remaining left in the session. Under 8 minutes remaining in this session. All these drivers who have not set a time, they have time to set their lap at the moment, come into the pits, and then get a final one going at the end. Excuse me. But you know, there's still plenty of time left for them to set these laps. It's going to be interesting to see where Pixel's going to be able to place himself in this McLaren on a medium set of tires. If he can get himself in the top 10, that'd be quite he'd be doing quite a good job there. But with the way these drivers are going as a whole, I'm not sure if that will be very possible for him. We're going to see now as he's coming up to the last corner now. He's going to be coming across the line, currently holding in P11 and just sets it in at P10. He doesn't get any faster than anyone who's currently set a lap. He's definitely going to want to pull into the pits, put on a set of softs, and set a big boy lap, as everyone at home would say.
It's to be expected to be a bit slower on those tires, so it's quite a bold strategy. One can only imagine what he's thinking right now.
I mean, overall per lap, as we said in the intro, it's about 1.1 seconds slower per lap. The mediums are to the soft. So, I mean, it's bold. Yes, it can work out if, you know, he manages to put it in. That could also just be his banker lap that he's setting, so he knows, you know, what's there, and then hops onto the soft, so then he can see when he's improving and when he's losing. So that could possibly be the strategy with that as well. I believe, though, with the way the timesheet is, Pixel would only have time right now for 1 lap on the softs. I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he might only, by the time he gets around this, the rest of this track here, pulls into the pits, get the softs on, gets out, does an out lap, does a fast lap. There won't be enough time left, I believe, for him to do another out lap to set a second fast lap. So off those mediums, he'll be coming in, 1 lap to go, and that will be what he can do today. Still, though, we have from P13 down to P17 have not set a lap so far. Dragon hasn't set a lap at the moment. Dragon is most likely still floating around in the chat right now. Dragon, I will personally make sure you cannot talk in this chat any longer if you don't hurry up and get a lap set, because we all want to see what you can do. We all know you're a very capable driver, and everyone is sitting here right now waiting for it. So as it stands at this moment, Kobe does come across, and he's actually up into P3 there in the Williams. Quite a good performance there. But Timo's still holding on to that pole position, provisional pole at this moment in the Ferrari, followed by his teammate Danny _Co in the Ferrari as well, locking up the front row as it stands at this moment, followed by Kobe in the Williams, and then Justin in the Red Bull. Those 4 drivers at the front, the first 2 rows, those are going to be very, very competitive. If this stays the way it is at this moment, even if it switched up a little bit, but it was still these 4 maybe swapped up in positions a little bit, it's still going to be a very, very competitive front line. To be honest, we've seen it in the past. There was the talk at the very beginning before we got into Australia that Danny was the championship favorite. From what I had picked up, Danny, unfortunately, though, in his past races has only been able to pick up 4th position in both Australia and Bahrain. It could be possible that this could be his day, but we'll just have to wait and see to see what would happen with that. Also, a thing we spoke about obviously last week with Joner. We always went over what the predictions would be when it comes to the likes of a safety car, VSC, stuff like that. Personally, for this track, for Shanghai, I don't see any reason for there to be a full course safety car on this track. I mean, there is some parts of the track where people may get a little bit aggressive and try to make a move, but it's so wide and you're so far away from the walls, really, and if you do come into contact with another driver, you know, the worst that'll happen really is you'll slide off into a bit of gravel, really. But I don't think that we'll see any full course here today. I think there's always the possibility for a VSC, you know, and I can't even say that this is not going to happen, because anything is possible. Anything can happen throughout these races. You know, it may not always be intentional. You know, there is driver error when that comes in, when the pressure is on. We can see both Red Bulls actually now getting ready to head out. That'll be Dragon and Justin as well, getting ready to go out to set their final fast lap of this race. Both of them on soft. You can see every driver in the grid now is on a set of soft. That is the tire to be on to get as far up that grid as they possibly can. But for those, I believe I caught a quick glimpse as well of the Tier 2 race that we had just before this one, and it looked like it was quite exciting as well. I believe Durhammer was one of the drivers in there, and had a good race. I didn't quite catch the result at the end, but I hope anyone who's sitting here now, if you were watching it before, I hope it was a good race, and I hope you all did enjoy it. And hopefully these guys at Tier 1 can live up to the expectations of being the Tier 1 drivers. We can see the Red Bull, I believe, of Dragon there was off track a little bit. I believe that was to let one of the other cars pass there, and then Justin let him get back on just ahead of him there. But this is the last chance, really. We've just over 2 minutes left in this qualifying session. These drivers, we still have 3 drivers on the grid who have not set a fast lap. They've got 1 shot one opportunity. Don't DMCA strike me for this, but this is their chance now to set that lap and see how far they can push themselves up. I know Justin's going to want to maybe try to push himself up onto that front row. He's been quite a decent qualifier throughout the season so far, but Shaky, what are you expecting from this overall race? I mean, obviously, bearing in mind that not knowing as much about these drivers, just sort of knowing a little bit and seeing what we're seeing so far from the qualifying. But do you have any kind of expectations, or what do you think might happen within the first opening laps?
Well, so far all the drivers seem to be pretty clean. They know to move aside and stuff like that. So I'm expecting the opening lap to be tight, but I do think that they're gonna keep it straight and keep all their noses clean.
Definitely. I can see, I don't want to get flashbacks, right? I don't want to get flashbacks to, I believe, 2019 Shanghai, when we saw Leclerc getting just thrown under the bus, really. I'm sure a lot of you watched that race where Ferrari team orders came in and Vettel was let past, and he was actually not using the clean air and really didn't build that gap away. But I'm hoping that there doesn't get to be a little bit of a scuffle between these two Ferraris. They're both fast, and you know, I hope nothing like that comes into play. I hope they don't get into too much of a scrap and lose too much time to the drivers behind, because as soon as they make a slip up, I know that Williams driver of Copy and Justin will be hot on their heels to try to try to get past that, really. A little bit themselves. So a lot of the drivers now finishing out their out laps, going on to their fast laps. I believe there's a McLaren actually that's coming across the line at this moment. I believe that is Nico.
Yes, that was Nico indeed.
Not sure, there was no position move from him there, so I'm not sure if he had actually set himself a fast lap or not. I believe it's that Formula Chris coming through Sector 3 at this moment in time. Coming through to set his first lap of the session. He's going to jump all the way up into P7. First retirement of the session as well. Down in P13 at the moment is Tipsy Bob. Not what we would have wanted to see. Justin's going to come across the line. That is him finished. He's not going to be able to improve much. He's going to be holding in P5 at this moment. A few more drivers are coming through, and it looks like Pixel has finished there as well, a little bit further down than what he would have expected. I believe that's a Mercedes that will be coming through very shortly as well, of Legend, coming across the line fairly shortly here. Currently in P17, hasn't set a lap time at this moment in time. Does move up into P14 though. Good qualifying from him, especially taking into consideration the fact that he only really put one lap in. Next driver that would be coming through for us would be one of the Racing Points, but they are currently retired off the track. I believe that is a Haas that is coming down through as well in Sector 3 of Jesse, the guy we saw just briefly before, who had a little bit of trouble with the tail end of his car, but he'll be the next to come through to possibly move up the grid a little bit. Currently holding in P16. I know he wants to improve immensely at this moment. It's a little bit wide there. I'm surprised it didn't come up as an invalidation there. Moves up into P15. He would then get followed by
P2.
I was just about to say that exactly. Kopi then managing to jump himself all the way up into P2 at this moment. Great session from him, being able to get himself up there. That is going to be Fox coming into the pits. The next driver to come through, I believe, is going to be either Cubs or Formula Chris, who are both actually finished. Checkered flags, we all hate them. There is... How many drivers do we have left on the track at the moment? I believe it's actually Ryan who's just pulling into the pit. So this looks like it's going to be our finishing grid for this session.
Pixel seems to have taken up some damage by hitting Cups in the back. Lost a bit of his wing.
Let's hope that doesn't transfer into a grid penalty. Otherwise, Pixel could be looking at starting from the back of the grid. Not sure exactly what happened there, but we all know how unfortunate that can be. Giving instantly a 5-place grid penalty, and especially when you're back at that part as well. But obviously, the driver starting outside of the top 10. I wouldn't be surprised. If most of them tried to start their on the medium tires for this race, just to get that little bit more of an extended first stint. But here's your grid for this race. We have Timo starting on pole. Great race for our great qualifying session from the Ferrari, followed by Kopi and the Williams, separating the two Ferrari drivers. Danny in P3, filling out the second row with Higgsy in the AlphaTauri. Justin just missing out, coming in at P5 there. Terra in the Renault, followed by Cubs, Formula Chris, Dad Bance, Ryan, Fox, Nico, Pixel, who doesn't seem to have picked up a penalty for that, so that's very good to see. Legend then, followed by Jesse, Tipsy Bob, and SLR Dragon not getting a time on the board. Quite unfortunate for him not to be able to set a time there. I think there was an invalidation with his fast lap that he was going on, but he will be starting at the back of the grid, and it'll be interesting to see how he's going to fight this up, and if he can maybe score himself some points, if he can fight with the drivers in front of him, get past them, maybe pull off a little bit of a better strategy, and maybe, you know, aim to score some points here today.
Yeah, it's going to be a big recovery drive for the birthday boy. But I suppose that is one of the risks that you take by taking your time and chilling out in the chat instead of putting in your qualifying.
Could be. But yeah, no, we're just waiting now for all these drivers to get themselves in their cars on the grid, ready for their formation lap. They'll be heating up their tires. We'll get to see exactly what these drivers are going to be starting on. We've had in the past, I've seen in the past drivers on obviously different tracks deciding to opt in to start on hards, and if I see anyone starting on hards today, I will honestly be a little bit disappointed, because I don't think that it's smart at all off the getaway. There's just so much time that can be lost there. So most likely, I feel that there's going to be a lot of the drivers from the start will be on softs, and then mediums as they're getting ready now for their formation lap, as I must be completely wrong, because Tipsy Bob and Dragon at the bottom are actually both opting into starting the hards. So from that, it looks like they're going to go hards for the majority of the race and then possibly opt on to the softs later on. I mean, it could work out. You know, I haven't done that strategy myself. I haven't seen many people do that around Shanghai just yet myself, but it could very well work. While everyone in front of them comes into the pits, they'll be able to push that a little bit further and get onto a faster compounded tire towards the end of the race, and you know, then be able to push that bit further, possibly even pick up the fastest lap. But everyone inside the top 10, obviously starting on their softs that they did their qualifying lap on, followed them by from P11, starting at Fox all the way down to Jesse in P15, opting in for the medium tire to start on, excuse me, and then Tipsy and Dragon at the bottom with their hards. So we've got a few strategies coming into play here. It'll be interesting to see how they're actually going to play this. We'll see some of these drivers here on the soft tires. Maybe they'll try to extend them, maybe try to do a one-stop onto mediums. Could be that little bit riskier, a little bit more trouble at the end. I believe the safest route really is going from softs, extend them a little bit, hop onto the hards then. And but there's going to be a few different ones coming into play there. Our medium runners, whether they'll decide to go medium hard or maybe then medium soft towards the end. And then obviously our harder runners, they'll by the looks of things, will most likely want to run those as long as possible and then hop onto a set of softs at the end and maybe look for some points and also try to go for that fastest lap. Yeah, so Justin is actually just saying as well, Dragon back-to-back no laps in quali from last week. Dragon didn't actually qualify as well, I believe. So is this an SLR Dragon last to first challenge? Is this what he's trying to pull off throughout this season?
It just might be. I was just about to suggest that. But speaking of the tire strategy, I do think that the hards are a bit of a risk. But when you're all the way at the back, there isn't a lot to risk out.
I mean, yeah, when you're starting, you know, P16 and 17 there at the back of the grid, you know, you have nothing to lose really, but you also have everything to gain. You know, anything happens in front there could be some easy positions picked up there. If they can hold on to the drivers that are in front of them, they'll be able to pick up the DRS from them as well, and then just try to be able to hold on with them as much as possible, and possibly even get some overtakes in, because there's a lot of people who have quite some confidence in Dragon. But as these drivers line up to get ready, 28 laps around the Shanghai circuit, all lights are on. Still holding because it's Codemasters. Lights are out, and away we go. Not a delayed start. This time, Timo looks to have gotten a good start, but there's the Williams of Kopi already trying to jump up the inside of the Ferrari, and it looks like he's going to try to make it stick here, but Danny's also tucking in behind the Williams, but it looks like Kopi's actually through, right into turn one, gotten through ahead of Timo, goes a little bit wide there, and that's going to be Timo's chance to get back at him, but it looks like he has stayed ahead so far. A little bit more of a scrap throughout the middle pack at this moment. As we see, there's Timo going last of the late breakers down into the corner there, getting ahead of Kopi.
Incident in the back, big incident.
And that is Ryan Fox. Ryan and Fox in the Williams and the Mercedes. That's going to be a yellow flag out there. I'm not sure if much happened to the McLaren of Pixel, but that's not going to be very good for the Williams and the Mercedes there. We can see Pixel then getting round SLR Dragon and moving himself up into 14th position at this moment in time. Yellow flag has been cleared. Everyone's back on racing, of course, and it's currently following by Timo, then Copy, Danny, Terra's holding there. Looks like Justin has dropped a position though. Justin started, I believe, on P5, and he's actually in P6 at this moment in time. He has then Cubs on his rear wheel. So not a bad start so far as they're coming into the third sector. The grid hasn't shifted too much. It looks like Legend has gotten past that bands further down into the mid-pack. The Mercedes getting ahead of the racing point as they're all getting ready to come through to finish out their first lap. Of course, Timo would have the fastest lap there so far, but that will soon change further out this session. It looks to be quite a big fight going throughout the back of the pack. We can actually see Dragon coming into the pits, and is that Chris as well coming in? I'm not entirely sure. It might be. It is indeed, I believe. Or no, Chris is still ghosted by the looks of things. There's something going on here. He seems to still be out, but it's just the grid. It's just the Codemasters grid trying to catch us off guard as always. But let's see if we can grab a hold of Timo, the current race leader. At this moment, he's being followed closely by the Williams. He hasn't let off just yet. The thing is, though, with the Williams, he's in a bit of a sandwich situation right now. He's trying to shoot for Timo as much as he possibly can to try to get past him, but at the same time, he's going to have Danny right on his heels. And if he makes one slip up while trying to fight with Timo, Danny's going to be there to take that right back and push through and bring this back to a Ferrari 1-2. It's not often we've seen a Ferrari 1-2 in overall of F1 in the past couple years, but not a legal one anyway. But I'm sorry, I had to put that in there. But yeah, no, so far a great opening lap from these drivers. The mid-pack seems to be fighting quite a bit. Nico holding in P11 right now for the McLaren team. Pixel just that little bit further out. He's going to want to get past Tipsy Bob as quickly as he possibly can. There's a little bit of a gap forming though throughout from the mid to the back pack. As they're starting to split up a little bit, obviously with the incidents that did occur. But so far as it stands, I think the closest fight that we have right now is Legend and Cubs. And it looks like Legend was going in for a move on Cubs, and there was a bit of contact in turn 1. The Mercedes driver has actually spun around. He's coming back onto the track now. It doesn't look like there is any wing damage at this moment. He may have gotten away lucky, maybe have just lost traction. He's going to tuck in just in front of actually his teammate Ryan. And that's going to be the Mercedes holding in P15 and 16 at the moment. Not where the silver arrows are going to want to be at this moment in time, but it's still the early stages of the race. Anything can happen. They can certainly pull this back at this moment. But look at the gap at the front. Timo pulling out over a 1 second gap at this moment, and it looks to be increasing steadily on the Williams driver of Kobe. And if he can manage to do that, once DRS gets enabled, Danny is in firing range of the Williams driver. He'll get a little bit, Kobe will get a little bit of slipstream maybe just about at the back from Timo, but he won't be able to get the DRS if this gap continues the way it is. And then with Danny being able to get that on the Williams driver, then that back straight is going to be murder, to be perfectly honest. Kobe will be a complete sitting duck. We know how strong and powerful that is. But it looks like Kobe is going to be trying to fight it back. We can see it fluctuating back to back a little bit as soon as they come across the line. This time, I believe the DRS will be enabled for these drivers throughout Shanghai here. There's a bit of a scrap going on further back the grid, I believe, between that band and Formula Chris as they're coming in to the last corner. Looks like Chris gone past that band's, a little bit of a jump down into the hairpin, but that band's met that with a return. Got ahead of him, but here comes Chris again. Just about getting ahead of that band's in the racing point into turn 1, and it looks like he's made the move stick this time. But all the while these two have been fighting, they've given the chance for Nico in the McLaren to make his move up there. There's a further fight further back as well between Fox and Pixel. Pixel's going back and forth with them. Don't know if he's going to be able to get that done. We'll hop on with him just for a second. We can see these drivers going side by side. And the thing with that as well, Pixel has gotten ahead of Fox and the Williams, but then there's two Mercedes drivers, and it looks like the Mercedes of Legend is actually going to be trying to go for a move on the inside of Fox. Looks like he's made his stick as well. So now Fox is a bit of a Mercedes sandwich at this moment. Literally, all three of them. Further up the grid, though, thankfully, I mean, well, nothing has really happened so far this month. But here's Legend, actually. While we stayed on board, Legends actually went for a bit of a move on Pixel into the inside, gets past him. Pixel tried to maybe look for a bit of a switchback, wasn't there, couldn't make the move. Gonna have to tuck in behind the Mercedes of Legend and look to try to get that move done again on the back straight. But there's definitely quite an intense battle all the way from P12 down to P16 here. Very, very close indeed. Looks like further up the grid as well, we have Cubs and Justin having a little bit of a scrap down into the hairpin. A little bit of a lockup from Justin in the Red Bull. Cubs managing to get ahead of him just before the entrance into that corner there. Gets ahead of the Red Bull driver, and now he's going to have to fight that back fairly shortly. The gap at the top of the board, though, we can see Timo has pulled out a 1.3 second gap, give or take a couple of tenths as we're going around here. So that's going to keep Kopi out of the DRS of Timo and the Ferrari, and that's going to give Danny his shot if he wants to get past the Williams. Exactly what he's going to want to do here is get past this Williams as fast as he possibly can and stick terror with Kopi. Then he wants to basically leave. He wants to drop Kopi back to Terra and let those two get into a bit of a fight. Give the Renault a chance. So then Kopi will then be fighting back and forth with the Renault driver, and then maybe drop back a second and give Danny then that chance to push up extra up onto his teammate and continue out for the Ferrari team. So very strong showing from these drivers so far.
Yeah, it's a lot has been going on there in the first couple of laps. Good fights between Pixel and Fox as well. Too bad that he got the short hands in that one. But further away, all at the front, Kopi is desperately trying to cling on to that second place, but there's a bit of a train going on behind him, so it's going to be quite difficult for him to keep on to that second spot.
Definitely, we can see Kopi using as much as he can to try to stay ahead of Danny, and it doesn't look like Danny's going to be close enough to try to get any sort of an overtake done on Kopi. A little bit of a lockup there gives Danny the chance to get very close, and he could be trying it again into turn one, but that gap from Timo is only increasing as Kopi is going into the pits, and so is Timo. So Timo is headed into the pits on lap 6 on those softs, and Kopi has decided to mirror that. And with the Ferraris obviously being so close, the driver in front then getting the priority of the pits. Timo goes in first. It looks like then if they're going to be on a similar strategy, Danny will then try to either extend for a little bit longer or will then come in the next lap. But as it stands, then Danny moves up into P1, Terror then into P2, followed by Higgsy. Justin in P4, he's going to want to get past that AlphaTauri as soon as possible, but there is a little bit of a gap between those drivers. Timo then, from that pit stop, comes out in P11. In no man's land, more or less. He's on his own, which is going to be quite good for him, really. He's got some clean air in front of him, so he can just sort of enjoy that the way he has been so far. He's almost 2 seconds ahead of Kopi as well, which gives him that opportunity to just, push it maybe a little bit, continue to build up that gap, or just hold it. He's not in the DRS either way. He's not any sort of a challenge as of yet, as it stands. So he managed to get that done quite well, but we'll see him fairly shortly starting to move his way up the field again, as these drivers will then start to move on to their pit stop strategies as it goes with that. But very good showing so far from all of the front of the grid, all of the drivers as a whole. We've had some collisions from some of the drivers further down when on the first lap there between the Mercedes, I believe, and it was one of the either the Red Bulls or the McLarens. But it's all very clean at this moment. We see there's actually Nico diving down the inside of Formula Chris in the Alfa Romeo into the hairpin just to get ahead of him here. And that's going to be Danny then heading into the pits, as well as Higgsy. I believe that's Nico then going into the pits, or Formula Chris, sorry, in the Alfa Romeo heading in. But Terror decides to stay out. So Terror is on 6-lap old softs, just like how everyone is more or less as they're getting ready to head into the pits here. But he's going to extend them. He's staying out that little bit longer. Maybe he feels a little bit more life in his tires and he really wants to put those to use. But that's going to be Terror that's leading this race at this point. Is he going to try and extend those to try to go for a soft medium? It's going to be very risky. And more towards the end of the race, then he would lose a lot of pace. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly how he plans on doing that. We can actually see as well further down the grid if we look. So Cubs and Hixie are having a little bit of a fight. But Danny comes out of the pits in the DRS range of Kopi. So Kopi, yes, managed to then you know, he pitted in front of before Danny did, of course. Got in, got out, just behind Timo there, about 2 seconds. But that's worked really, really well for Danny, because when Danny took the lead there, it looked like he was really pushing so that he could make sure he could come out as close to Kopi as possible, because now he's going to be obviously within the DRS range, and he's able to contest that driver. It's a 1v1 at this point. It's between both these drivers, between a Williams and a Ferrari for this position. More or less at this point, it is actually for the second place of this race so far. And with all that's going on, if these two start fighting, that's going to give Timo the extra chance as well to push even further ahead of the drivers. I believe there's a few more fights going further up. There's Legend and Jesse going at it through the hairpin, of course. That's where we're going to see a lot of the overtakes. Down that back straight and into the hairpin is where we're going to see most of it going. But it looks like Legend has gotten past Jesse. Terror decides to then come into the pits 1 lap later than everyone else. We're going to actually stick with them real quick. I just want to see exactly where is he going to come out. Is he going to be able to come out in front? Doesn't look like it. How far back is he going to be? It looks like he's going to be dropping all the way down behind Danny. He does manage to get out ahead of Cubs, but he's going to be about 1.5 seconds behind Danny in the Ferrari. Not too bad. I mean, if Kopi and Danny start to get into a little bit of a fight, he has the chance then to push himself up there and get into contention. But as it stands, it worked fairly well for him to be able there. I'm sure he would have wanted to be a little bit closer. He's trying ever so hard just to cut down that gap using the ERS that he has there, just to try to close that, get within that DRS range of that Ferrari and make it a 3-way fight rather than a 2-way fight.
He lost about half a second during that pit stop, so he's gonna look into getting that time back, because he really wants to be in that fight.
Definitely, and by the looks of things as well, when we're looking at the timesheet, it looks like he's doing it as well. It looks like he's not holding back. And at this moment, currently, he's fluctuating between just outside and just inside of the DRS. But I think at the detection point, he's actually been hidden in it. So he should then, I believe, would be able to get it. Yeah, he's got it on Danny, and that's going to help him down that back straight then to catch up. And that's going to be a 3-way fight between these drivers now at this point. Further up the grid, we do see there's Tipsy Bob then following further behind Fox right now, still managing to stay within the DRS. But if these two keep going on at it as well, we can actually see Timo, who's already cutting down the gap on those hards to the drivers that are on the mediums. Those mediums are 8 laps old at this moment, and Tipsy's on a set of hards. But those mediums, give it a couple more laps and they'll start to feel a little bit of a drop off. But you can really see that Timo is strong on this track. I mean, he came out in around about P10 or whatever. There's a few drivers then in front of him pitted, but he's already coming up closer and closer to the drivers in front of him that have not actually pitted. So he's already carving his way through the field there. All these drivers in front of him still have to pit, and as soon as they do, he's just back in the lead, you know, as happy as ever. If he manages obviously to close the gap on Tipsy here and get the overtake done, well, that makes him even happier. But you know, as it stands, he doesn't need to. He'll then take the lead of that. But you know, with that as well, it's still that gap between Timo and Kopi is staying the way it is. And I think the next most exciting thing we'll see is actually, I think Danny's going to try it down the back straight on the Williams driver. If we look at the ERS differences between them, it's minuscule. They're both managing it as best they can. They're holding on to as much as possible. I mean, when Danny's within the DRS there, if he's not close enough to make a move, there's no point for him to really waste much. We're getting given a very, very bad camera angle, so let's just hop on board. And it looks like Danny is going to be looking for a move on Kopi. Gets a very good exit out onto the back straight. Gets onto the slipstream, DRS gets enabled, and he gets ahead down into the hairpin. Kopi is going to be dropping down into P8 at this point, and this is Danny's chance now to get ahead. He's going to have to try to build this gap and get Kopi out of that DRS, and that's given Terror now the chance as well to get up with Kopi in the Williams. So if all goes well for Danny, what's going to happen here is Terror's going to try very shortly for a move on Kopi, and that would then give the Ferrari driver the chance to just keep pushing and going even further up the field. Then we actually see Timo has already cut that gap down to Tipsy Bob in the racing point. He'll be looking to get past him very, very soon. You can see that gap is just cutting down ever so slightly, more or less a tenth every about second and a half here. He's going down the outside, braking rather late there. Squeeze, a little bit of a squeeze from both drivers there. It looks like he is going to have to tuck in though behind Tipsy. Not exactly what he would have wanted. He's losing a little bit of time to that, I believe, with that little bit of a scrap that he's having. But really what he would want to do is just sort of wait until you're at that point of where the straight is, just get a little bit of a better exit and just shoot through. But the opportunity was there, he went for it, but unfortunately he's going to have to hold off for now. It will come again though.
Yeah, Timo definitely lost a bit of time there to coming up from Danny, which might actually be favorable for them as well, seeing as it's his teammate. Might be beneficial for him to be able to pull Danny along with him.
Definitely. So what could happen here is if Danny can manage to get up against up to Tipsy here and get past Tipsy and get with Timo, they could be using the DRS off of each other. Obviously that depends if Danny has got the pace to do that. He is obviously within the DRS range of Tipsy at this moment, but Terror needs to keep pushing at this moment. If the Ferraris want that to happen as comfortably for them, Terror's going to want to get up and really start pushing Kopi in the Williams, and that'll give them the real chance to start shooting away, really. So Timo's now managed to move himself up into P5 at the moment. Obviously that is only going to go up with the drivers in front who will then need to pit. Danny's about 5/10 now. He's very, very close to the Racing Point driver. I wouldn't be surprised now if he gets past him very, very shortly. And best case scenario, he gets past Tipsy, and then Tipsy has a good old scrap with Kopi, holds him up for a couple seconds maybe.
Yeah, that would be the ideal scenario for the Ferraris here right now. You can definitely see that Danny is looking for a move. He's probably going to try and do it at the main straight, where he did it with Kopi as well.
That would be the safest option, most likely, and not only just the overall safest, but probably safest as in, at that point, you know, Terra will be fighting Kopi, Terra will be fighting Cubs. It's all going to be going on down that straight. I mean, when you've got a bit of a train going, that's when it gets damaging, but it's going to be very good for Danny because Tipsy Bob is actually out of the DRS of Timo already, and that means that Danny's going to get a sweet overtake. He's not even at the DRS zone yet, and he's already passed him. What a great exit from Danny.
Exit from that corner there.
Danny with the great exit, getting past Tipsy Bob, but here's Kopi as well with the DRS, getting ahead of him as well, down into the hairpin. Looks like Kopi doesn't want to let that Ferrari go. He wants to stay with them, and Tipsy then falling down into P8 at this moment. It looks like it's going to be Terror that's going to be the next to have a go at the Racing Point. Down the start-finish straight, looks like he's going to go for it on the outside, milking every little bit of ERS he's got in his tank. Coming through here, we'll be taking the outside through it. Keep it as clean as you possibly can, boys, and let's not have any incidents. You can see Tipsy then just holding off a little bit. That's going to be Terror through at this point. Looks like Timo's having a bit of a scrap further up the field with Fox in the Williams. Maybe Fox is trying to hold up Timo a little bit. He's gotten past Jesse as well there, but maybe Fox is trying to, you know, have a little bit more of a fight with him, hold him up maybe a little bit for Kopi, for his teammate. And that could be very, very possible. Cubs also then gets past Tipsy as well. You can see those hards being that little bit older, just being a little bit more of a struggle for the Racing Point driver there. But Timo now carving his way up through the field. He'll be past Fox in no time. I can imagine you can see him edging closer and closer to the rear end of that Williams at every single corner. Excuse me. And it won't be surprising once again. The back straight. That's what we said at the beginning. It's a very, very long back straight. Eat it with that DRS. Get a good exit out of that, and you more or less have a guaranteed position if you're fighting with someone there. We can see Timo.
Yeah, it's very hard to actually defend your position on the back straight just because it's so damn long.
Yeah. Make that a little bit there. We can actually see there is Timo then on the inside of Fox, heading down into the hairpin, bringing down a little bit of a lock up on the right wheel. Diving it down the inside, gets it done though, nice and clean, and he's moved up into P3. However, this puts two cars in the way of his teammate. Scratch that actually, because I believe Fox and Jesse both just pit it, so that's going to look very, very good for Danny. If he can close that gap in his teammate, he'll be able to work with the DRS with them and try to stay ever so closely there. However, Terror and Kopi haven't been fighting the way that Danny would have wanted them to. Kopi's managing to hold on to Danny and could be bringing the fight to him very, very shortly as these drivers continue to go on. With that though, Danny needs to close the gap to Timo, otherwise once again down the back straight Kopi will be able to more or less take that away from him, and there won't be much that Danny can do, especially when we look at the ERS. There's a little bit of a difference in him, not too much to make a major difference, but there is just that little bit of a difference there. So, you know, it's not going according to plan, I would say, for Danny at this moment. He definitely would have wanted Terror and Kopi to get into a bit more of a fight and maybe drop back a couple of tenths. But, you know, he's got a lot of work to do. He's 5 tenths now. He's got a half a second to build on that Williams if he wants to get out and get a bit more of a cruise. Pixel managing to pick up a 3-second time penalty for track extensions. The only other person on the track right now with the penalty is Formula Chris. I believe it's only a 3-second for track extensions as well. Coming down the back straight now, we can see Kobe using the ERS up until 8th there, getting the DRS. Is he going to be close enough though to make a move on Danny? It doesn't look like he's going to be there just yet, so Danny is safe for the meantime. A little bit of a lock from both of them as they head into the hairpin, but Danny does manage to hold on to it, and Timo is still just driving comfortably at this point. It looks like he is cutting down that gap, or sorry, the drivers in front then, Nico and Legend in the McLaren and the Mercedes have come into the pit, so we're back now in the original format, as we would say. So Timo there in P1, followed by Danny, who's managed to cut down that gap ever so slightly. He could be looking at getting in the DRS range of his teammate, and could be holding on there as well in P3. Terror in P4, followed by Cubs. Tipsy Bob up in P6 at the moment, followed by Higgsy, Justin, Dab Bands, Formula Chris, Legend coming out in P11. I see there Nico in P12 just behind him, followed by Fox, Dragon, Ryan, Jesse, and Pixel. Excuse me, I need to open my second drink already.
Yeah, no, it's at the front. It's very tight there. All the way 1, 2, 5, almost within 1 second of each other. It's definitely going to be a tight battle there over once again at the back straight. Everyone moving into position, trying to get higher up the grid. Danny is definitely not happy with Kopi hanging on to him, and Terror not being able to put that much pressure onto Kopi either.
Definitely, and now we're actually starting to see as well, Timo is actually increasing the gap little by little. It seems like when they come to Sector 3, it seems like Danny seems to be performing that little bit better in the third sector than Timo is. It seems like Timo's got the edge through Sector 1 and Sector 2, but it looks like Danny has the best of it in the third sector. It looks like Higgsy now has gotten past Tipsy Bob in his AlphaTauri ahead of the Racing Point driver, and has moved himself all the way up into P6 at this moment. And next then, Justin's going to be trying to get past that Red Bull driver fairly shortly. But it looks like Danny's actually got within the DRS. He's got DRS of Timo. So now this is a train. This is a train all the way down from P1 to P5 at this moment. Then a little bit of a gap down to Higgsy, and then a bit of another train. There's no real crazy sizable gaps at this moment, but that's exactly what Danny needed to do. He got it done. That's the one thing he needed to do if he wanted to more or less be able to continue the way he was going and hold on to that position, was get in the DRS of Timo. He's managed to do it. Can he stay in it? He should be able to, and hopefully when they're coming down that back straight, hopefully they don't go full race mode and one of them dives up the inside of each other. I think Timo will be able to stay ahead of that fairly easily. But with that though, this is also a very good opportunity. We look at the timesheet at the moment, and it's actually increased from Danny to Kopi with 8 tenths. It's fluctuating, of course, give or take a tenth or two. But with Danny getting the DRS of Timo, this is actually the shot for Ferrari to let go of the Williams behind them. We can see obviously Danny just managing to stay within it on Timo, and Kopi just staying obviously within it there on Danny. But this is the shot for the Ferrari team to let go of that Williams and sort of throw him back to the drivers that he's fighting with at the moment, to throw him back in with the Renault and in with Cubs as well. There's a yellow flag at the moment in Sector 2. Not sure what's going on there. I believe it was maybe something to do with a McLaren.
Yeah, Pixel had a little bit of an incident, spun out of the track, but he's back on his way now.
So Pixel not having the best race so far. I mean, he wasn't able to participate last week in Bahrain, and you know, with what's going on at the moment, definitely not what he would be looking for here today at Shanghai. But you can see that gap it's getting there ever so slightly. I feel like there's going to be a few people who are just patiently watching the timesheets, sweating that little bit, really hoping that Danny can get that gap from Kopi, but stay in the gap of Timo. We can see Timo's just very quick through this second sector, but Danny should be able to pick that up as soon as they enter into the third here. It seems to be the way it's been going all throughout the race. It seems that, as I said before, Timo's just got it in Sector 1 and 2, but Sector 3, Danny's able to bring it back just that little bit to close it. So, you know, there's a lot of work still to be done, but they're ever so close to throwing away the McLaren at this moment. It looks like Pixel has pulled into the pits and he has retired from this race. Fairly unfortunate, but that is going to be Pixel's race for today.
At the front, it's definitely becoming tighter and tighter. This is the one shot that Ferrari was looking for to really break away. And this is the one shot that Terror has to actually bring on a decent fight for the podium for himself.
The thing is, though...
One driver that we haven't talked about at all, though, during this whole little train is Scups. He's been hanging on there on his mediums. And he's just been hanging in there.
He's been hanging in there. He's been holding on very well to the drivers there, but he is coming into the pits. I was just going to mention he would have to pit there. But down the back straight, Danny did not get DRS on Timo there. I think he was 0.0 something out of Timo, and he actually didn't get DRS down through there. And that's going to be costly, because then Copy's been able to close that gap with being able to stay within him there. So, you know, it's going to be a hard job for Danny, but he really has to keep up with his teammate at this point to stay ahead. We're on lap 17 out of 28, almost halfway through the race so far. One retirement, of course. No major incidents to report at this moment, which is always great to see. And no major gaps from drivers. The biggest gap we have at the moment, I believe, is down towards the bottom. SLR Dragon and P16 with a 19-second gap, and closing to Jesse in front of him in the Haas. But yeah, very unfortunate showing for Pixel there. Danny, though, very close. Is he going to be able to stay within it for getting the DRS on Timo? It doesn't look like it. There's a possibility here, though, as he's coming out. He's using as much overtake as he possibly can, and he's not going to get it again. That's 2 laps in a row now. He's gone down that straight and he hasn't got DRS, and that's given Kopi the chance to climb up onto him. But it seems like Kopi hasn't climbed up as much as what he did in previous laps, though, with that. I mean, some of these tires will start to fall off fairly soon, especially with the dirty air, with following on with the drivers so closely. Danny does manage to get back within it on Timo, but at this moment it looks like it's just a Ferrari 1-2, and they just need to try to hold on to it as best they can. Cubs does come out of the pits on a fresh set of medium tires. He comes out in P13, and he's going to have to fight through Fox, Fox, Nico, and Chris if he wants to get up into the points. Should be fairly doable, but as Fox has actually picked up a little bit of a penalty there for track extensions as well. Multiple warnings coming through there, but it looks like Danny has closed that gap once again. I'm not sure, maybe was that just pure pace, or maybe did Timo just lift off the throttle a little bit? Maybe are they sitting in there together, and Danny said, look man, you're too quick right now. I need to stay within that for you if we want to push out of this. You know, just ease it a little bit. Nowhere significant, just like maybe just coming through one of the corners, just take it a little bit slower. Could have possibly been. We don't know that. Obviously, we don't have a direct link to any of the voice comms that are going on between drivers. But you know, this is what is going to be anticipated by everyone all throughout this race, I think, is whether Danny can actually leave that Williams behind.
Yeah, it really comes down to that. It seems very obvious that Timo is the quicker driver of the two. But it's definitely coming down to, can Danny keep on to that second seat? Is he going on to P2, or does he drop down to P3? And then there's the question, does Terror move up? Can he launch a successful challenge onto Kopi? Because he hasn't been able to do so just yet.
That's the thing as well. Kopi has been holding on to that Williams for so many laps now. I wouldn't be surprised. I would love, honestly, to see him really try for a move. It is significantly harder. Tipsy Bob does come into the pits, by the way, but it's significantly harder whenever you're trying to get a move done on someone in front of you, who also then is going to have that DRS and the slipstream on the person in front once again. It just gets that little bit harder to try to make a move. It comes down to then at that point, if you can just get that better exit, that better launch that we saw Danny get a couple of times to get past a few of the drivers there, or Danny, between Danny and Timo, both had some great launches out through that managed to get them ahead of some of the drivers. But that's what it would really come down to, is whether he can get that launch, or if Danny can increase that gap and then give Terror the chance. Because that's what's going to give Terror the chance, realistically, is if Danny increases that gap, Kopi doesn't get the DRS, and then at that point, it's a Kopi versus Terror at this point. Another driver we haven't really spoke about too much at this moment is Justin, who's currently our championship leader. He's currently holding in P6 at this moment, sitting behind the AlphaTauri of Higgsy. I'm sure as a Red Bull driver, he would not be happy to be sitting behind an AlphaTauri. He'll be wanting to get past him as soon as he possibly can. He moves to the inside a little bit there. I would have assumed he would want to tuck in a little bit more. He should be able to get past Higsy fairly easily, fairly shortly, as Higsy's actually missing quite a lot of his ERS and has already more or less exhausted it at this point. Excuse me. Yeah, that's what he's going to be looking for very soon as well. I mean, Justin, if he can get past Higsy here, he'll still have about 5 to 6 seconds to catch up if he wants to get up to Terror. There's still the opportunity for that. We've 8 laps left to go in this race, but you need to get past Higsy as soon as possible. Further down the field, though, I believe that's Bance, who's getting ready to try to maybe make a little bit of a score settler on one of the Mercedes here of Legend. It looked like, according to the timesheets there, he was getting very, very close. And we could be looking at him trying it very, very soon on Legend just in front of him. Good showing so far, though. You mentioned Cubs earlier. Good showing so far from the Alfa Romeos, though. You know, they're both holding in the points quite well. Cubs in P10 at the moment on the freshest set of tires. Well, second freshest tires on the track at this moment. And then his teammate just in front of him by about 4 seconds on the hard. So good little chunk of points for them today. And I'm sure they'll be happy enough with that. They'll maybe want to push just that little bit further. Hopefully the time penalty that Chris has doesn't put it in too much jeopardy. Whether he has multiple, we'll have a little look into that in a little moment, just to see exactly who has what and where it was picked up at.
Yeah, definitely. The Alfa Romeos are putting down a solid performance. Cubs is on 2 lap old mediums, so there might be a possibility for him to take an extra position or two. The Red Bulls are not exactly having the showing that they were hoping for. Justin just a little bit further back than he wanted to be. Maybe it's not his best track, but even then, possibly P4 was something that he might have hoped for. Dragon, the birthday boy, sadly all the way in the back. Perhaps he has party things going on in his mind.
Very possible. I mean, you know what they say? I'm just gonna say that, you know what they say? Don't drink and drive. And I would hate to think that, you know, it may be your birthday, but, you know, hold it until after the race, my friend. But yeah, no, definitely not what he would have wanted, especially from not qualifying 2 races in a row. Bahrain and now China here at Shanghai, not qualifying for the race, which honestly, I've seen a few of Dragon's races in the past before I came on as a commentator for the 2SRL, and he is a good driver as well. If he could have got himself a lap in, he definitely could have qualified within the top 10 and had a much better showing, and it would have been an overall much better showing than for the Red Bull team. They possibly could have even gotten up there to contest with Kopi, Terror, and possibly even the Ferraris. But you know, hopefully they'll be able to come back next week in Zandvoort and do that little bit better. But everyone right now who's sitting back and watching at home, what do you think about the decision that was made to skip Vietnam? How do you feel about that? I mean, you know, we went from Australia to Bahrain, but then Vietnam was decided to be left off for this time, and then just move straight over to China. Speaking of Justin, he just manages to squeeze past the AlphaTauri driver of Higsy. He's up now into P5. If he can hold it, he'll be doing great. And, you know, that will be a good solid chunk of points for him. Whether it will be able to keep him at the top of the championship all depends. I mean, I think it might be able to if Kopi either stays in third or gets maybe outdone a little bit by Terror, but that's going to be on Terror to see if he can do that. And that train is still going all the way from P1 down to P4. That train is still going at the front, so anything can happen. 22 laps in, we've got just 6 laps left to go of this race, and there's still a lot that could happen. Fighting for the last chunk of points really is down further down. We have Cubs and Chris that are holding on quite well, but 5 seconds of a gap to Fox, so they don't have to worry just yet. But Nico then also is down there trying to fight a little bit with the Williams driver. But it looks like at the moment, as it stands, the Alfa Romeos have held on to that last little chunk, and they could be very well holding out to the end. Look at the gap. I think the moment has come. I think the moment we've all been waiting for has come, because there's Danny going down the straight, getting DRS on Timo. Kopi hasn't got the DRS. He's using as much ERS as he possibly can.
And Terror is instantly moving in on it as well.
Terror into the hairpin, down the inside. A little bit of a lockup, but manages to get past Kopi and forces him out of a podium position at this moment. And that's only going to increase the gap from then obviously Danny to Terror at this moment, and we know Cuppy's going to come back at that. He's going to try and fight for that position to get that back, because that is for the podium. But this is the chance that Ferrari's been waiting for to build that gap and really just secure that 1-2 for the Ferrari team today. And I think it's very well held, because I know Cuppy's going to be trying to fight that right as soon as we get back to that point again of that backstreet. Maybe even before it, he'll be trying to fight with that to take it back, to reclaim his rightful spot on the podium. It would be a shame if he got forced out of it just at this moment. Ryan then picking up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not what you want, but he's actually backing out of the session. I believe that's actually a retirement from the Mercedes driver at this moment. Looks like though Terror's picked up some pace. These guys were about 1.3 to 1.4 roughly behind the Ferraris. Terror's cut that down. It looks,
he did that very well, actually.
there is the possibility that Terror, I'm not sure if he will here, we'll just have to stay on board with him just to check. He's cut it down quite a bit here. Very good run out onto the straight. Is he going to be able to get DRS on Danny though? I don't think he was there for the DRS detection zone. He was not. So unfortunately not going to be able to hold on to that, but using as much ERS as he possibly can to get ahead. At the front though, Timo and Danny not having any left to spare. It looks like Cuppy's in the best position that way, but he still doesn't have too much. But Terror managing to stick with them, and he will get DRS going down the start finish straight here on the drivers, and the train will continue. But it looks like Cuppy's actually fallen back a little bit. Cuppy's not going to get DRS on Terror. He's 1.2 behind, roughly give or take a tenth, and it looks like Terror is going to be trying to gun forward for the Ferrari of Danny here.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that Terror literally just played us all, and he was just sandbagging behind Cuppy there, waiting his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and now he's with all his resources left, he can go and focus for Danny and even Timo maybe.
There's a possibility for that. I mean, we're on lap 24 to 28. There's 4 laps left to go, and that can definitely happen. I mean, realistically, he could take one of them each lap, and that could be done deal, signed, sealed, delivered. And he could be on his way to a race win. So there's definitely the possibility with that, but he's going to have to stay within the DRS. He doesn't have much ERS to spare. The good thing is he's on equal grounds with both cars, I believe, in front of him. And the person who's in the worst position at this moment is Timo, who his tires are just that extra lap old, 2 laps old than Terror's. And just 1 lap from Danny. And at the late stages of the race, it can make a little bit more of a difference. Earlier on the lifespan of the tires, doesn't make that much of a difference, but more towards the end, that extra lap can really make a difference when it comes to the closing stages and how the car is going to then perform. He does pick up the DRS, and they're just increasing that gap from Cuppy and the Williams behind. He's just going to be dropping back at this point. And it looks like the possibility for Cuppy to get on the podium once again for a 3rd time in a row here, and possibly even what I was hoping for, maybe even Cuppy to take him his first win after finishing 2nd twice in a row. It looks to be slipping through his fingertips lap after lap.
Yeah, just in the one instant, it all seemed to be crumbling down for everything around him. He lost the DRS and then instantly gets overtaken, and now he's completely out of DRS range for Terror as well. Meanwhile, Terror just clings on to the Ferraris and is looking for an opening there.
Definitely. So managing to hold fairly close. It looks like he's getting some really good exits here. He's getting closer and closer to Danny. He's not just staying on the edge. He's charging through it at this moment. He's cut it down about 6 tenths behind him. And if he can get a good enough exit out onto the back straight, he might be able to go for Danny this lap.
It is definitely going to be a nail-biter looking at how close he is going to get to them. It does start to look like this was part of Terror's plan. He seems to have just that little bit more left in his tires than the Ferraris do.
Definitely. I mean, is this all part of the, as we would say, the Renault master plan for Terror? You know, tuck in behind Cuppy for so long, just let it relax. He'll stay within Danny, nice and easy. Just relax, save up what you've got, take Cuppy at the end, and then make that last push, like you said. It's very possible he's going to get DRS on Danny here, but he's about 7 tenths behind. I don't think with Danny getting the DRS, obviously, and being so close to Timo, it is going to be a challenge though to get ahead of Danny in the Ferrari. Coming into the hairpin there, it looks like Danny lost a little bit just because he was that bit closer to his teammate. But they're coming through now. We're going to be on lap 26. It's going to be about 2 laps to go now of the Chinese Grand Prix, and it looks like Cubs is moving up positions. Cubs has moved all the way up, and he's moved into P8 from P9. He shut down the gap from himself to the racing point of that band, and he's moved up to grab himself an extra chunk of points for the Alfa Romeo team. He's going to be very, very happy with that. And Chris isn't too far behind him either. Unfortunately, of course, he does have that penalty. So I think the best he can hope for at the moment is just to keep pushing, hold on to that, and hope the penalty doesn't drop him just outside of the points. At this moment, I'm just going to jump on board with Terror because it looked like he's been closing it very, very quickly, and he's on the heels completely of the Ferrari driver of Danny. We're going to hop on board with him just for a little bit to see how this lap pans out for him, and see if he plans to actually turn it into some form of a move on the Ferrari driver of Danny_Co. Lost a little bit of time on the exit there, not too much though. Bit of a lockup coming into the left hand, a very tricky corner to get right there. He's got to get the exit right here. Looks like he's losing just that little bit, not too much, and he's going to come out. Not a bad exit there. And with that though, still with Timo being in front and Danny being able to hold on to Timo with the DRS, that's what's going to make it harder for Terror. So there is a possibility for him to get this maybe into the last lap. We could really come down to a nail biter, where we could see Terror really trying to gun for that move. We could see, there is a possibility we could see coming into that hairpin, we could see a Max Verstappen on Vettel, just like they did in, I believe, 2018, where he just sort of dove down the inside there, and there was a bit of a scrap going on there. We could see that happen, we might not. It all depends on Terror. As far as ERS stands, it looks like Danny's been saving a little bit though to put himself in a defending position, which could secure it for him though, and could really hold him exactly where he wants to be. That's what it can really come down to at the end, with him being able to hold on to the DRS of Timo as well. If he has that little bit more of the energy reserves than the driver behind that's trying to attack him, he'll be in a much better position to defend, especially when it comes to getting that good exit on the run up down the back straight. So I personally think that Danny might actually end up holding on to this. I mean, the chances there, I think it's more or less at this moment, it could have come and gone for Terror. He maybe needed to get really, get a move on a few laps before, a bit earlier, when he had just gotten past Kopi and really just closed the gap. I feel like he maybe should have wanted to push a lot more there. I could be wrong, but I think it definitely at this point has possibly just come and gone from him. I don't think the tires have the life left in them to make that aggressive push at this moment. I could be wrong, but it definitely does not look like it to me.
Yeah, it is definitely starting to look like the tires are giving out on the Renault, but so are they on the Ferrari. But it's a good move from Danny to save up a bit of his ERS, trying to keep that edge in front of him, and just keep on holding on, and then we go.
Definitely. So entering the last lap of this race here at the Shanghai circuit, Timo then currently leading the race. He's more or less been leading the race from start to finish, if you take into consideration the drivers, of course, in front that then had to pit. Legion picking up a bit of a penalty, which isn't going to serve well for him if Cubs can close down a little bit. Timo's had a great drive so far, followed by Danny and P2 at this moment, and then you can see Terror, who's still, he's edging at it. You can see he's really edging at it on this Ferrari, but I don't think it's just going to be there just yet. I mean, he's not done. There's still a chance for him to do this, but it looks to be what we're looking like, and I think there's still a bit of a scrap going on as well between Justin and Higgsy at this moment. Terror bouncing up over the curb a little bit on the inside there. Looks like lost him just a little bit, but not too much. Managed to recover it up, and this will be the last chance really for Terror. We'll stay on board with him just for this, to see if he can manage to get ahead of the Ferrari.
He is a little bit closer than he was before now.
He's going to be using every bit of ERS that he has left, but once again, with Danny having the DRS on Timo, it's going to be hard. He's not able to close it as quick as what he would like to. Coming down into the hairpin there, you can see the smoke flying off of every one of the tires, but it looks like coming around the final corner, it looks like it is going to be Timo for the Ferrari team coming across the line to win the Chinese Grand Prix. It's a 1-2 for Ferrari here for the Tier 1 2SRL Round 3. Terror having a great drive, just managing to pull himself in at the podium there. Great drive from him. Could we see a possible shoey from the Renault driver? We maybe hope so. Kopi then just unfortunate pulling in for P4 there. followed by Justin, who gets snags himself P5. Decent little bit of points to try to hold himself in the Drivers' Championship after the performances he's had so far. Higgsy falling at P6, Legend in P7, followed by Cubs in P8, moved up just that little bit. That Bance in P9, and Formula Chris picking up the last of the points, followed by Nico, Fox, and I believe Tipsy Bob then to come through very shortly, and then Jesse, and last person to cross the line there will be Dragon, who moved himself up into P15. As we see the birthday boy today doing donuts. He's just having the time of his life. He's gonna come across the line now. P15, and he's barely making it across the line. What could have been a nice little landing for him turned into a bit of a ruckus, really.
I don't think the team's going to buy him a birthday present after that.
No, definitely not. I think they're going to take the money they would spend on a birthday present to pay for the repairs for the car. I would most likely look to see there. But great showing from the Ferrari team. That's a 1-2. We haven't seen one of those in quite a while. Hopefully they can maybe keep this coming and have a bit of a strong season. That is only going to increase their lead in the constructor standings, and that's also going to help them then push up in the driver standings. I mean, between both Ferraris, there was a 1 point difference with Danny at the front, but now it's actually going to be Timo that will then be able to jump up, and they could be able to, even jump up even just that little bit further ahead of some of the other drivers. So your finishing grid for today's race, it was Timo then with a great race coming in, finishing in P1, followed by Danny in P2, and then Tara finishing off your podium. Copy missing out just in P4 there. Justin, Higgsy, Legend, Cubs, That Bands, Formula Chris, Nico, Fox, Tipsy Bob, Jesse, SLR Dragon, Ryan, and then Pixel coming in at P17 there with an unfortunate DNF from the session. So it's been an absolutely phenomenal race. We'll have a little check just to see if any of these drivers want to have a little bit of a chat with us. We'll see if I can switch this over to the right one. And we'll see if we can get a little chat with some of them fairly shortly. If any of them are listening currently at this point, then make sure to hop into, I believe we normally use General Chat 4. So we'll give it just a little moment, and then we'll start dragging a couple people in. And looks like luck has shone upon us, because the person who's just hopped in, we're about to drag him in just a little second, is actually the race winner. Timo, we're going to bring him in right about now. Timo!
Hello!
A 1-2 for the Ferrari team. Absolute redemption. How are you feeling?
I love to see it. I am ecstatic. This has taken 8 seasons, but it's finally there.
So, am I correct in saying this is your maiden victory?
Yes, it is.
So
and I started driving in Season 2.
So from started driving in Season 2 to now being in Season 9, Round 3 here at the Shanghai circuit. Not only just a 1-2 for the Ferrari, a great result for the team as a whole. Your maiden victory, and what a victory it was, really. There wasn't much to flaw at all, if anything. You led the race basically from start to finish. Obviously at the point where there was drivers in front that then had to pit, but from start to finish, you were at the front, you led it there, and you were more or less uncontested throughout the entire track, so you can really see where the work was put in there. But going into, did you put a lot of practice into this track? Were you really preparing yourself? Like, how bad did you want it heading into China?
Oh, honestly, I felt less prepared than Bahrain and China. You know, I'm mainly going for the SLR Tier 2 championship because I feel like I have more of a chance there. and I didn't win that race because of Tara, who was my teammate, and the reason was, again, that I couldn't put it together in the race. I was always nervous and scared and didn't put the throttle down, was half a second off pace. And coming into this race then, I wasn't over-prepared or anything. It was just like the other tracks. And I told myself, you know, you're going to go in here, you're going to push as hard as you can, and if you spin, then you spin. It's fine. And I did that, and I drove exactly like in practice. I felt like today I overcome the thing that's been holding me back for quite some while. And it's an amazing feeling.
Definitely. One question I do have for you, though, throughout the race today, you had at a point there was quite a sizable gap. I know Danny was under fire from the Williams driver of copy for quite some time, but there was a part where we saw on the track, I believe it was about 1.3 seconds ahead you were from Danny, but then that cut down to more or less being within the DRS. Was there a point, I want to know, was there a point where you lifted off the throttle just a little bit to help out your teammate?
No, there wasn't. I'm pretty sure the thing you're referring to was because I was hitting traffic of those who were on the counter strategy. So I was approaching them, and they were giving each other DRS, and I couldn't really get past, and it was very stressful. And I honestly thought I had lost the race there, because in practice, Danny and I were like running like also 1-2, but he was ahead of me, and he was faster. So I thought as soon as he catches on to me, I am like, this is not my win anymore. He told me throughout the race, like, don't worry, I'm not gonna attack you. It was like lap 10, and I didn't know like how serious he was about that. So I thought at that point, okay, now we're gonna fight it out. But in the end, I don't know if it was my pace or if it was him being like not wanting to risk the 1-2. We just drove home like that, and yeah, really happy.
Definitely. I mean,
I didn't lift for him.
Okay, it's good that we know that. So it was 100%. You know, you guys just giving it everything you have, and a much deserved finish for both of you on the team there. Throughout that race, it was phenomenal from a great qualifying session all the way through to the race. Absolutely amazing. I couldn't have asked to watch a better race, especially for your team there. You must be very proud. But the next race incoming then is Zandvoort. Then we're heading off to the Netherlands, the land of Max Verstappen. How are you feeling for that track?
I don't know if I'm good there. I can say it is among my top 3 favorite tracks in the game, because it is so much fun to drive. Like, you don't have any downtime. You're just pushing 36 laps, and you don't even get a chance to think. While here on the straight, I was thinking every time, oh god, might I win this? And that's not going to happen at Zandvoort. But the thing is that the overtaking is a bit like, it's bad. So if I can put quali together, I'm feeling good about that. I seem to be solid at quali now. But if I don't, then I might have problems in the race, because I'm bad at overtaking. It's a narrow track.
I definitely hear that. I mean, when it comes to Zandvoort, really, you've got your you have your 2 DRS zones, but the first one that's further out through, I believe, in sector 2 coming into sector 3. It's very short. The straight's very short. There's not really much room to get anything done there, even with the DRS. Mainly what you're relying on is the going down that start-finish straight, really, is where the most of the overtaking would be done. So, yeah, definitely, if you can manage then to come back next week and pull off what you did here today, set yourself on pole on the front row, and I think you could be in for a very good race, or a very good race. Like you said, it's an enjoyable track. It's twisty, it's turny, it's constant action, and it's overall just enjoyable. But overall, a great performance from you today. An absolute pleasure to watch, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you can bring in the future.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be a pleasure to watch the stream back, though. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
All right, so next up then, it looks like the last person we'll be able to pull in for tonight is actually going to be, before this race began, the current Drivers' Championship leader. We're actually going to be bringing in Justin real quick. So let's see if we can get a word with him. Justin.
Hello.
How are you? Probably not exactly what you were looking for. I mean, going into this race, obviously being the championship leader in the driver's standings. But do you want to take us through a few things of what happened on your end, or was it just a little bit rocky there today? How were you feeling about the overall race?
I mean, mate, I'm honestly super happy with that results, because, you know, it might not sound great, P5, considering I came from P2 and then P1, but I hate this track, China, like with a passion. Like, let's be honest, I really hate it, and I'm very bad at it as well. So to have found pace today, both in quali and in the race, starting P5, finishing P5, I mean, you know, there's no ups and downs really. There was only one overtake I did, and that was on the AlphaTauri driver, and you know, otherwise it was just me keeping my nose clean and just driving at my pace.
Definitely. I mean, well, when you take that into consideration, of course, if it's one of your least favorite tracks, you felt possibly ill-prepared for it, maybe not even looking forward to it. To finish that far up the grid is definitely something to be happy with then. So I'm very happy with you for that. There was a point during the race whenever we saw for you making that move on the AlphaTauri driver. We knew for a fact that as a Red Bull driver, it did not feel comfortable to be sitting behind an AlphaTauri, and you needed to get past him as quick as possible, and you managed to get it done, which was good. So Christian will be very happy with you for that. But going into then our next race will be in the Netherlands. It'll be at Zandvoort. How do you feel for that track? Do you think that's one of your better tracks, more favorable? Are you going to enjoy it more? And what can we possibly expect from you there?
Yeah, Zandvoort is a track I really enjoy racing. Like Timo said before, it's super fun to drive when you get a rhythm going. but it's a pain when it comes to overtaking. So qualifying might be everything. Last season, having raced it both in Tier 1 and Tier 2, I got an idea kind of it, and it's fun to drive, and I really like it, but I just don't like the overtaking aspect, so I don't know. But it's definitely a track that I'm looking forward to, and I'm definitely feel more prepared than China.
Definitely. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what you can pull out of the bag then for us, and possibly get back up on the podium where I'm sure you just love being. So I'm looking forward to that, and thank you once again for putting on a great show. And we'll see you then again next week.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So out of nowhere, actually, we do actually have one more person to bring in. The guy who came at the end, Terror, got past Copy. We didn't think it was gonna happen. He came out of nowhere. Really, we thought he was just sort of sticking behind him. He was having a little bit of trouble, and he managed to get past him at the end there. Push forward, wasn't able to get towards the Ferraris the way he would have wanted to bring the fight as much to them. But overall, brought in a great result and managed to get himself onto the podium. Let's bring him in for a little chat. Terror.
Hello.
Terror, how are you? Absolutely great result there. You had myself and even Shaky on the edge of our seats at a stage there. We thought you were maybe having a little bit of trouble with keeping with Copy and like not really getting the chance to make the move. But all of a sudden, you're past the Williams and you're pushing for the Ferraris. How was that going for you on your end?
Yeah, I mean that was a really intense race. That was the best I could have done. I couldn't have put any more pressure on the Ferraris, I don't think. But I mean, just in terms of like how I knew that from races we've done earlier in the week, I knew that I had a race. My race pace was quite a bit better than my qualifying pace. I tend to be better on tires. I tend to be able to go fast, sort of fairly consistently. And so I was hoping that would be the case through the hard stint. The hards, though, they basically don't wear at all. So it was going to have to be done on pace if I was going to do it. And yeah, just being behind Copy there, just harvesting as much as I could, basically while staying in DRS. That was the key thing. And I got to like 75 or 80% or so, with 6 or 7 laps to go. And I was like, well, it's got to be now, or it's going to be never, if I'm going to get to the Ferraris, because I've got to get past Copy. And that happened to be the lap that he lost DRS. I think he made a mistake in the slow chicane just before the DRS detection. He lost DRS on the front too, and I knew that was my chance. So I burned everything down that straight, burned everything over the next lap to get back in Danny's DRS, and from there on it was just about trying to harvest and go for one last push in the last 2 laps, which didn't quite happen, but I got close. I put pressure on them. That was the best I could do, and well done to the Ferraris.
Definitely. I mean, you did get very, very close towards the end there. We were watching. We actually thought that after that move on Copy, we knew that it was sort of like, okay, he's either having a bit of trouble or hold on a minute. He's gotten past him. He's been saving. He's pulled as they would say, a big brain play. And when we saw that gap close so fast, we actually thought we actually thought you were going to move up even another position and really bring the fight to Danny. But of course, with him being in the DRS of Timo, at that point it just gets really, really hard. Obviously, going down that back straight, if everyone's in a bit of a train, it just gets really, really tricky. But yeah, with Kobe having that little issue being outside of it and you getting past it was definitely perfect. Couldn't have come better. You executed it perfectly, and it was amazing to see. Next though, Zandvoort. What can we expect from you there? Is it one of your favorite or better tracks, I would say, or is it something you're more okay? It's gonna come and go.
I really like it. I love it to drive. It's one of my favorite tracks on the calendar to drive, I think. It's like a roller coaster, up and down and side to side. So yeah, it's fantastic. And I think I'm reasonably fast there. I don't know. It's going to be hard to tell, because it's always difficult to tell, because whenever you start doing prep for a new circuit, you're always comparing to, especially sort of this late in the life cycle of the game, as it were.
Yes.
You're always preparing. You're always comparing to when the game first came out and the first season that we did in F1 2020, and I think people will have gotten faster since then. But compared to those times, I'm reasonably fast. So I kind of think that there might be another similar performance to this, hopefully, in that maybe I can challenge the Ferraris. I don't know. They're very good though. They're very good drivers, Timo and Danny. They're really, really solid up front today, and I expect the same at Zandvoort. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Certainly, it's one of my favorite tracks to drive.
Definitely. Well, with that, I'm very excited to see what you can bring to the table then there next week. I'll be looking forward to it. Once again, fantastic result here today. I'm sure you couldn't have wished for better. It was great. And I'm sure we will catch up with you later on then.
Yep. Thanks very much, guys.
Not a problem. Take care. All right. So with that, that is going to then come to a close of today's race, the 2 SRL Tier 1 Round 3 at Shanghai. Brilliant race overall from all of the drivers. You can join us then again for Tier 1 next week at the same time here on the YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. And also check in the description. You'll see all the links to the Discord for the SLR, 2SRL, and the EGL. Make sure you hop in if you want to get involved. It will be a pleasure to have you here and to even have a chat with you every now and again. So as always, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of your week, and we will see you all very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.